Hey guys, it's Proxy or Jack or whatever you guys want to call me. I'm here to explain where I've been the last, 8-ish months. Why my upload schedule has been so highly erratic. What's been going on in this year? Why has the background changed so frequently? And, just generally what's been happening with my life and the future of Proxy Audios. I'm gonna give a couple warnings. This video is gonna be rather negative, because a lot of negative stuff has happened, but there is a lot of good. At the end of this video, there will be a lot of good that I have to share. That has happened in very recently. So without further ado, I guess I'm just gonna start. Just because I have only so much time to record. I have like 30 minutes where I gotta leave. Starting off, beginning of this year, January of 2025, I had gone in for a major surgery for the top of my head. I'm not going to show it because I'm pretty sure with this wound for it, but I'm pretty sure YouTube would be kind of iffy. But if you want to see that, I have it posted on my Twitter if you want to scroll down through there, or my Blue Sky if you want to go through that. But essentially, I've had a growth on the back of my head for as long as I can remember, and I would always scrape it on the walls, and they'd bleed. It was very nasty. So I went in to get it removed. By the way, that whole process was terrible. I was not given any pain medication for after, and I had to just endure the agony and pain that was recovering from having your skull ripped open. But anyway, I went through that. They told me it could have been cancer, which scared the life out of me, but they said they couldn't give me a definitive answer at the time until they looked at it in a lab. So I went home, my skin's engrafted over the wound. I'm in agony, I'm bedridden. And over the course of January, I'm just getting weaker, but also stronger at the same time. In a way that, I mean, like, physically, I'm getting stronger, but mentally getting kind of weaker because I'm in pain. Slowly recovering my strength from that because when you're in a lot of pain, you don't want to move. But I got up slowly, and I'd say through mid-January, I finally started to get strong enough to stand on my own again. Wasn't able to do a lot, but I was able to stand and at least walk around. Around this time, my parents and I were having several disagreements, and fighting quite regularly. And it all culminated in a fantastical fight near the end of January where they were screaming in my face about not cooking fast enough and about how they're going to go to bed hungry. And I'm still weak from the surgery, right? I'm still not 100%. And they're yelling at me and screaming at me and shoving me around, and I'm trying to be reasonable, and they're just not. And I forgot to mention this. By the way, do not share any hatred or don't go over there and be mean to anybody I mentioned in this video. It's uncool, and this has already been resolved with most of these people. So yeah, I forgot to say this at the beginning of the video, but please be cool. I've dealt with this a lot behind the scenes. I'm just sharing where I'm at mentally. So after that happened, I was forced to leave. And I was made homeless for the second time in my life. You spend your entire childhood homeless, and then as an adult, you think, oh, I'm never going to be homeless again. And then, surprise, you're homeless. Luckily, I had two really good friends who picked me up off the side of the road. I was able to stay at their parents' house for a little while before moving into my best friend's boyfriend's place. And he was really, really cool about it. And nowadays, I actually live with both of them in our own apartment. So they're really cool people. But yeah, that happened. And that was not great, as you can imagine. Very traumatic for me and very, very difficult time. Because it's your parents, right? You're supposed to share love and support, but That just was not happening. And then following that, we're going into February, March. I've just been freshly kicked out. I'm looking for a job. For you guys who don't know, before that I was on Social Security because I was taking care of my parents and there was no work we were at because I was out in the boonies and I was able to get access to it, so why not? Well, I was informed that my Social Security, probably is not going to cover bills. $900 a month just is not enough money. So I had to start looking for a job back in February. Problem, I have basically zero job experience. I worked at a McDonald's and I worked at a yacht club. That's not a lot of experience, and even then it was only for a few months. So I have no experience and I have to basically start my life anew, right? I had a plan for my life and that got completely shattered. So following that, I started looking for a job. I'm moving into, my best friend's boyfriend's place. Well, by the way, they're two of my best friends. I'm just specifying that. And I'm struggling to get back on my feet. Meanwhile, I still have the thought of cancer in the back of my mind. I'm going, God, do I have cancer? I really don't want cancer. And I still don't know because they haven't called me back. Well, all of February goes through and I'm fighting with my parents the whole time. They're sending me mean messages. It's not a great time. They're insulting me. They're calling me names. They're saying I don't love them. And then we go into March. My birthday comes up. And, something weird happened with with the boyfriend's parents. His parents were actually really, really cool and they actually got me gifts and everything and I was not expecting that. So that made me quite happy. The bigger surprise on my birthday, though, which caught me off guard, is I got a call. Remember that surgery I mentioned I got in January? Yeah, it turns out they didn't accept my insurance. So medical debt. Happy birthday, medical debt. And you only have a month to pay it off. Thanks for that. So then I'm stressing about that. On top of trying to get a job. On top of the cancer scare, on top of, going homeless and then having to relocate my entire life and fighting to just get my things because they're being difficult about me just wanting to grab my stuff. They're trying to hold it hostage. And I'm just like, can I have a win? Can I just have a win? It's my birthday. Come on. Which I thought I was going to get a win when I potentially almost had a job at the Walmart at that location. Where I was at the time, but unfortunately I didn't have my Social Security card, so I couldn't fill out the I-9 form because my parents were holding it hostage and I couldn't get it in time to do that, so they basically ruined my chance at getting a job at that time, which was really not great to deal with. By the way, I've had to go and re-get my Social Security card and had to fight the actual Social Security office to go get it. It took over a month of fighting them to get it. Not a great time. Also, changing my address and doing all that stuff was not fun, and having to go change all my passwords and banking information was also not fun. So that happened in March, right? Beginning of March. I'd say about the middle of March, I was hit by another surprise, which is getting a call from the actual, the place I went to get the surgery, and they said, hey, guess what? You don't have cancer. And I'm like, yes, I don't have cancer. And it was one of the best news I'd heard in a minute, man. Oh my God. Turns out they'd killed it. It was there, but it was benign. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but apparently it means it couldn't spread and it wasn't that big of a threat. So when they went in and did it, apparently they managed to kill it at the same time or something or other. I will admit I'm not very knowledgeable about that fact, so I can't really tell you guys too much because I don't really know. Medically, I'm not that smart. But that happened, and I was very, very happy to hear that. That was one of the big stresses taken off my shoulders. The next stress taken off my shoulders was a massive payment from Social Security, which caught me off guard. And I called them about it. I'm like, hey, did you mean to give me $2,000? I don't think you meant to give me $2,000. And they're like, oh no, we meant to give you $2,000. And I'm like, why did you give me $2,000? And they're like, well, overpayments. And I'm like, I overpaid you? And they're like, no, actually, we underpaid you. And I'm like, so I was able to use that 2 grand for a lot of things, like paying off my debt. Woohoo! No more medical debt. That was great. That was great news. One of the bad things, though, then rears its head in April. Because up at this point, we were talking about moving, right? And that was one of the scary things, because, moving out in the middle of nowhere. Really, really nervous. Still haven't gotten a job, by the way. I'm still living on Social Security. And then I get a message from Social Security saying, hey, next year you're getting kicked off the program. You're done. And I'm like, great. Now I have less than a year to find a job or I'm screwed. So that's a new stress that gets thrown on my shoulders. But at least I'm no longer in debt, There's that. And then me and my partner at the time, beginning of April, I'm pretty sure it happened, or maybe middle of April, I don't remember, broke up. Or we got put on break and then broke up. And that really hurt. About to move to a whole new city, a whole new life. Still dealing with all these other stresses, and then that happens. And that was rough. Oh my God. So, but here's the other part that was extra rough. I had to go there by myself for the first month because they basically had to hold the apartment while everything was being swapped over and while they were still planning and moving all the stuff. So basically I had to go sit in an apartment all by myself for an entire month. With thoughts and feelings of freshly being broken up with. Not fun. As you might imagine, I had quite a bad time. So that sucked. And during all this time, I'm barely mustering any energy for audios, and I'm barely mustering up any energy to do anything online. Like, even talking to people, I just don't wanna. I am so mentally, defeated at the time. I'm sleeping more than I'm awake, because sleep was, the only thing that was relieving my stress. It was the only thing that could make me, feel not like I was about to die from pure stress. But here's the good news at the time. I didn't have any outstanding bills besides rent. And, at the time, my debt was mostly paid off. And I didn't really have anything really to worry about at that time. I was also fighting, by the way, around the same time, fighting with my mother about bills and what I owe and what I don't owe. It was a big old deal. I eventually got her to pay me back for bills that I paid. She still, was mean about it. But, I dealt with it. There's the other thing, too, about them just trying to keep my stuff. I was able to get a large majority of it, but they did manage to keep my TV and a couple other things. But, I got the important things. I got the computer. I got a lot of my games out of there. Majority of my stuff. Couldn't keep the bed, obviously, and couldn't get the dresser or anything because I just didn't have the room. But I did manage to grab the chair. Chair was got. Which was important because I need a chair. So that was rough. Also got my mic. I'm really happy I snagged the mic. But, yeah. That sucked. But anyway, as I was saying earlier, we were going into April. I'm living in this apartment. There's not really nothing here yet, besides my bed and a few other things that we brought over on the first trip. And, which I got a new bed. My boyfriend gave me, my friend's boyfriend gave me his old bed, which, thank Christ, I don't have to sleep on the floor. I'm dealing with that. And then me and my partner got back together briefly before I ended up ending it, because at that point, I'd been basically ignored for a year. He wouldn't want to call me on Valentine's, wouldn't call me for Christmas or my birthday or anything. I even bought stuff I was going to wear for him. I was going to wear piercings and everything for him, and he just ignored me for a year straight, not wanting to call or contact or anything. We'd do brief texts, but that would be it. And it really hurt, you know what I mean? Because that's supposed to be your partner. You're your person you confide with more than anybody. And again, 100. I'm going to stress this again. Do not send them any hate. Do not send them any malice, or don't even contact him of any kind. We've already dealt with this privately. I'm just stating where my mind was at the time. That I'm just explaining how things were Do not send any hate or malice their way. But that's what was happening at the time, from dealing with, recently being made single to dealing with other stresses with the job and dealing with the cancer scare and dealing with all of these things, which, by the way, in the span of 8 months, this is what's happened. It has been insane, the amount of stuff that's happened this year. And so, yeah, finally broke off the relationship, though, about a month ago. A little over a month ago. Give or take. And yeah, it was rough, man. It was one of those things where you kind of had to do it because it was like, where was this relationship going? Obviously, neither of us had faith in it, and they obviously felt different. And obviously, talking with them now, they really didn't feel good about the relationship. And I'm gonna guess for about a year, because that's how they. Again, it was literally a whole year of being ignored and outright acting weird towards me. So I have to believe they weren't in love with me for about a year. And I don't hold that against them. Everyone's feelings are entirely valid. It did hurt. I'm not gonna lie. I wish they just broke up with me a lot sooner. So that way I did not, have to deal with that pain at that specific time. But I understand that, I don't think they did it out of malice or anything. I just think they were trying to do the right thing and they weren't sure what that was. But it did lead to a lot of bad things happening with me mentally, and things were really, really bad and really, really rough for a really long time. And now we are in the present. Here's some things that have happened in the last month, which have been really, really good. 1, I got a job. Huzzah! I work at Walmart. And, I actually really enjoy what I do. I'm a cart pusher. And, I really enjoy it. Honestly, I really do. I mean, it's really hard on my feet. I've had to put on foot cream and all that. Not the most pleasant experience. But I really like the physical labor of it. I love doing it. And I recently just got full-time doing the job. So I'm moving up in the world with that, and I'm really happy with that. As for mentally, I'm doing a little bit better. I'm still in a rough spot, but I am doing a lot better than I was just a few months ago. I'm settling in fully into this apartment. Ignore all my friend's stuff in the background. I'm fully settling into this apartment. I'm starting to get comfortable finally. I'm finally actually able to sleep more regularly, despite, the bags in our minds, but I am sleeping more. And I'm feeling a lot more comfortable. And I think and I am going to be losing Social Security fully. Actually, not losing. I already lost it because I got a job. But that's fine. I'd rather work than be on Social Security, honestly. It gives me more satisfaction. And yeah, generally I'm doing a lot better. I don't know what the future holds for Proxy Audios. I'm going to be fully honest. I want to keep uploading and I want to keep making content, but I'm also in a situation where I have to work. I have to work my job, and I only get 2 days off a week, and they're disjointed. One's on a Sunday, one's on a Wednesday. I'm going to try to keep uploading and making content, but it's also in a situation where I really do need to work every hour I can get my hands on. But I am doing better. I'm trying to reach out and make more friends again. I'm trying to stop being as much of a hermit as I have been. And yeah, generally I'm doing a little bit better. I've fully paid off every last debt that I have. I'm going to buy myself a box spring for under the bed and eventually a frame and get my bed off the floor. I'm going to buy a new chair eventually because this thing's kind of breaking. The screws are falling out of it, and that's the armrest. So it's time to get a new chair. It got a little messed up in shipping when we were moving. And yeah, generally though, I'm doing a little bit better. And while things are rough and while I'm still straggling along, I think there's a bright future for me, and I think there's even a bright future for the channel. I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do right now. Honestly, I really don't know. But what I do know is I want to keep trying, and I want to keep making content, and I want to keep doing the very best that I can. And while I can't do a lot right at the moment, I do want to do more. I want to go back and continue some old series like Sorrowful Hunter. I do want to get back to Shy Dragon. I want to go to do more Bloodlust. I want to go back and touch a lot of those old series up. I want to finish a lot of them. I do want to go and make some new stuff. Like I've been working on the Kitsune series that I've really liked working on with one of my friends named Fire. I've really loved working on that, and I want to keep working on that. I have a couple different ideas for a couple different series, like a Robot Butler series. Totally not inspired by someone I talked to on Discord. I've had a series about like a Jurassic Park type series. Again, totally not inspired by a friend on Discord. And yeah, there's a lot I want to do. And while at the moment I may not be, tip top shape, I am doing better. I am doing better. So, I wish you all the best. This is Jack/Proxy signing off, and thank you guys for being with me even through this very turbulent year. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye.